The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up, you've heard the song.
You've been walking the same old road.
Now, hear the story.
20 minutes later, we had written that song.
Zach Williams goes behind the music of the Grammy-winning hit Chainbreaker.
They were willing to take a chance on somebody that they really didn't know that much.
Plus, the second career of a legendary head coach. Pat Williams reveals the secrets of John Wooden's forgotten teams on today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. You know, we just had the author of a book that talked about the Russians, and Russian President Vladimir Putin is sounding kinder and gentler after he won a smashing re-election. He says he doesn't want an arms race, but he's also been building up a nuclear arsenal, and some people are calling him a new czar.
Well, under Putin, Russia has also been carrying out cyber warfare, and it's been involved in the fighting in Syria. But what does Putin want next? Well, Dale Hurd has the story.
He's back. It's going to be another 6 years of Vladimir Putin. After his re-election to a fourth term as president, the Russian strongman says he wants peace with the West, but relations are at a post-Cold War low. What Putin won wasn't really an election because it was rigged. A main opponent, opposition leader Viktor Navalny, was banned from running after being charged with corruption just before the race began. Video even showed ballot boxes being stuffed for Putin. But Vladimir Putin might have won anyway because he is hugely popular. Russians who voted for him say he has brought them peace, stability, and a measure of prosperity. This woman says, of course I'm happy with the election result because there will be stability. This man says, Putin is a good president, and I don't care what others think. But the former KGB officer who once called the collapse of the Soviet Union a tragedy is likely to continue being a problem for the West. He denies Russian involvement in the recent nerve agent attack in Britain against a former Russian spy and his daughter, despite the charges from British Prime Minister Theresa May and supported by President Trump.
I spoke with the Prime Minister, and we are in deep discussions, a very sad situation. It certainly looks like the Russians were behind it.
And Russia is currently at odds with the West over Syria and Ukraine and a variety of other allegations of bad behavior, including cyber attacks and meddling in foreign elections. And while Putin now says he has no desire for an arms race, Russia continues to roll out new and more dangerous weapons systems.
The reason why we should be worried is because Russia's national security goals at times are at fundamental odds with those of the United States.
Putin is now being called a new czar whose agenda is to make Russia great again and win the respect of the world. And some analysts say building up his nuclear arsenal is a clear way to accomplish that goal. The West will now have to deal with Putin until at least 2024. Ronald Reagan used to say when dealing with the Soviets, trust but verify. Putin may say he wants peace, but others argue his actions don't match his words. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, thanks, Dale. Ladies and gentlemen, I think without question, Putin wants to extend the Russian reach. He'll obviously want to take over the Baltic countries. You mark my word, that's coming next. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they're on the border of Russia. It'd be so easy for the Russians just to roll in and take them over, and they're going to do it. But they went into the Ukraine, took a large chunk of the Ukraine. They're in there, but they haven't possessed it, but they took over the Crimea away from the Ukraine, and they've built up nuclear weapons. They claim they have now a bomb that'll go 20 times the speed of sound, and he wants to build up a nuclear arsenal. His personal wealth could be as much as $100 billion. And he and his buddies have just looted the country. They have huge amounts of money. He's given them a favored position to take over most of the wealth of the nation of Russia. And he keeps on rolling along. But what happened in Syria, chemical warfare, the Syrian opposition has been just demolished. There have been thousands of people who've been killed in Syria. He's backed Hassan Bashar al-Assad, and his appetite is to restore the former Soviet empire. And that will mean all the surrounding countries, the Caucasus countries, and others that have broken away when the Russian Empire was, taken apart. He'll want to get it all back. And so you'll see one after the other. There'll be adventures, adventures, adventures. And the only way to stop it is to be muscular and to go after him. And the Obama administration did no such thing. But ladies and gentlemen, it's got to be done, because this is an existential threat to the safety of this nation. But the problem we're dealing with is he is nuclear weapon. He has an arsenal that's big enough to destroy the United States. And he knows it, and we know it. Well, in other news, still another bombing in Texas, this time at a FedEx center near San Antonio. John Jessup has that.
That's right, Pat. Federal investigators suspect this bombing is linked to the other string of bombings in the Texas state capital of Austin this month. The latest blast came from a package bomb around 1 a.m. local time. According to officials, roughly 75 employees were working at the facility when the package exploded. One person received minor injuries, but is expected to be okay. Authorities are warning people not to go near or open suspicious packages. More than 500 investigators, including FBI teams and local authorities, are on the case. Well, 116 Americans die every day from an opioid related overdose. An alarming statistic prompted President Trump to call for the toughest punishment possible for trafficking drugs. He made that announcement in New Hampshire, one of the states that's been hardest hit by drug overdoses. Ben Kennedy brings us that story.
President Trump wants the death penalty on the table when talking about drug traffickers who are behind drug-related deaths. President Trump took the opioid fight to New Hampshire. There he called for the Department of Justice to go for that penalty against drug traffickers.
But if we don't get tough on the drug dealers, we're wasting our time. Just remember that. We're wasting our time. And that toughness includes the death penalty.
Trump's announcement comes in the wake of stories like 21-year-old Caitlin Weems, who died of a heroin overdose. Her mother says that changed everything for her.
And life has just been so different since. I mean, no one, unless you've been in that situation, can even fathom how that turns your whole world upside down within a second.
Caitlin became addicted to pain pills after a sports injury, then moved to heroin.
The face of heroin has changed. It used to be a criminal element in the urban city, in a warehouse, nothing around here. Now the face of heroin is my daughter, who loved soccer.
Many have turned to their faith for strength to break the addiction habit.
I started getting to know Jesus, and I realized that the same power that rose him from the grave is what fights addiction, not me. I can't beat it. And once I realized that was the power fighting for me, I knew I was never, ever going back.
The Center for Disease Control says opioids were behind more than 40,000 deaths in 2016 alone, calling the problem an epidemic. Opioids range from prescription pain relievers to heroin.
90% of the heroin in America comes from our southern border, where eventually the Democrats will agree with us and will build the wall to keep the damn drugs out.
In October, President Trump declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency. He doubled down on his promise by securing $6 billion to tackle the crisis, with plans to launch anti-drug commercials, granting waivers to states for treatment, and even providing Narcan, which counteracts a drug overdose, free to schools and colleges.
This is about winning a very, very tough problem. And if we don't get very tough on these dealers, it's not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. And I want to win this battle. I don't want to leave at the end of 7 years and have this problem.
Drug overdose deaths have nearly quadrupled since 1999, making it the leading cause of accidental death right here in the U.S., which is why the president is making this a top priority. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Ben. Pat, clearly a growing crisis here, but do you agree the death penalty for dealers?
Well, I wanted the death penalty for people who traffic in young children. I think that's what I would do, but it's not so much the death penalty. It's the question is stopping these manufacturers who are putting these things out. So many of these are being prescribed by doctors. They just have not yet gotten the message. They've got to stop this reckless writing of prescriptions. And, you know, OxyContin and some of the other things they've got are clearly addictive. And if you continue to do this, somebody's got a little bit of a pain, so they get a prescription. And that prescription, they start taking those drugs, and then they want to go heavier and heavier and heavier. That's what's causing it. And it's not so much killing the drug dealers, it's stopping the companies that are manufacturing these things and the doctors who are prescribing them. John?
Pat, Republicans in Pennsylvania have lost a legal battle over drawing congressional districts in their state. The Supreme Court refused to take up their challenge to a new map of congressional districts that was imposed by the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court. It ruled the previous map of congressional districts violated the state constitution's guarantee of free and fair elections. But Republicans say the new map extremely favors Democrats. State GOP leaders pointed out the New York Times, among others, said Democrats couldn't have asked for much more from the new map. The new districts will likely help the Democratic Party pick up more seats in their quest for control of Congress in this fall's midterm elections. Well, a powerful storm system left destruction behind as it tore through parts of the United States Monday, hitting the southeast especially hard. The storms struck Alabama, knocking out power and damaging homes.
I don't know. This has never happened before. So call the insurance company and I don't know if we'll rebuild or what we'll do. That'll be decided. It's a mess. It's a war zone in there.
And it's not over yet with tornadoes, Pat, expected to hit the area tonight.
Well, a big storm. And, you know, you wonder about this so-called global warming. It's getting colder and more storm. And I'm sure the acolytes of global warming will say, well, the cold is because of global warming. It's man-made, but the truth is it's getting a lot colder. These are intense storms. And there was somebody that told me earlier, I don't know if this is correct or not, that Washington, D.C., when this is over with, might have received more snow. That's a record. Snow.
Well, this morning someone was saying also we've had 4 nor'easters in less than a month.
Think of that.
That's unbelievable.
Well, it's
really.
pouring rain here, but I think we'll have a little bit of snow. But up in the Northeast, as you go up 95 Carter, up into New York and New England, it's going to be a bear. It's, you know, here, this is supposed to be spring, ladies and gentlemen.
It's all Punxsutawney Phil's problem.
Well, yeah, he was wrong.
He warned us.
What do you got next?
Well, up next, the secret that makes Israel's intelligence the best in the world.
They are the final frontier, guarding the safety of the country. They believe that if they don't work today with everything they have, then tomorrow Jews are going to be killed.
Go behind the scenes of Israel's controversial targeted kills and see how the nation has fought extermination after this.
Since its very beginning, the nation of Israel has faced extermination from its enemies. So the Jewish state has fought back in a number of ways, including the controversial use of targeted assassinations. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, we're learning for the first time why this deadly technique plays such a part in Israel's history. Watch this.
In 1983, 241 Americans died in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, Lebanon. Israel's assassination of Imad Muniyeh, the mastermind behind that bombing, is one reason why many consider Israel's intelligence services the best in the world. A new book tells why. The book is called Rise and Kill First: The Secret History of Israel's Targeted Assassinations. Award-winning journalist Ronit Bergman told CBN News The title comes from an ancient Jewish writing he heard quoted by members of Israel's intelligence services.
They used the phrase from the Babylonian Talmud, which says, if someone comes to kill you, rise up and kill him first. The mindset which says, when every decade your prime nemesis, your chief adversary, your main enemy, declares publicly that its main goal is to destroy Israel, then there's no other choice but rise up and kill him first.
Since its founding, that's been the public goal of Israel's enemies, from Saddam Hussein to Yasser Arafat to Iran's Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
All of these, when they are your enemies, you would do whatever you can to defend your country and your people.
Bergman says after the Holocaust, Jews followed 3 lessons that permeate Israel's intelligence services.
First is that there will always be a Gentile who is after us to kill us. Second, all or most of the other Gentiles will not help, so we can rely only on ourselves. And third is that we need to have a safe haven, a refuge, a country of our own to defend it, and to defend it with all means possible.
In his book, Bergman explains the secret that makes Israel's intelligence the best in the world.
But there's one extra thought, and that thought is that they are the guards on the wall. They are, if borrowing a phrase from Star Trek, they are the final frontier, guarding the safety of the country and the security of the citizens of Israel and Jews worldwide, not just in Israel. They believe that if they don't work today with everything they have, then tomorrow Jews are going to be killed.
Bergman's book takes readers through how Mossad chief Meir Dagan urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and then Defense Minister Ehud Barak to use assassinations and cyber warfare against Iran instead of bombing its nuclear facilities. He also describes the elimination of Hezbollah commander Imad Muniyah, the most wanted terrorist in the world, and how Yasser Arafat escaped dozens of assassination attempts. We asked about the dilemma of targeted killings.
There are 2 questions that are relevant. Is it effective, and is it legally and morally justified?
In describing an effective example, he pointed to the Second Intifada, when Palestinian suicide bombings killed and maimed thousands of Israelis. Bergman says Israel didn't go after the bombers, but their leaders.
But when Israel started to kill all the layer, the hierarchy above them, the bomb makers, the indoctrinators, the recruiters, the drivers, the regional command, the military command, the political leaders, then these people, those who were not yet killed, who had no problem with sending other people to their death, well, they had another thought. They did not want to check by themselves if the option of the 72 virgin is true or not.
After 9/11, the rules changed, and the U.S. began targeted killings with help from Israel's intelligence expertise. Now many Western nations also follow the Israeli model. Targeted killings remain an intense debate, and only Israel's prime minister can approve them. Yet with all its success, Bergman quotes one ex-Mossad chief who summed up their dilemma.
At the core of what we did every day in Mossad was that dilemma of what does a democracy under grave threats allow itself to take and do to defend its citizens, while it knows that it's unfortunately might violate other values.
Bergman's book took 8 years to write and includes more than 1,000 interviews. On the eve of Israel's 70th anniversary, Bergman, the son of 2 Holocaust survivors, sees it as a contribution to the ongoing remarkable story.
Sometimes I walk in the streets of Israel and I say, this is really a miracle. I think what was achieved here during the last 110 years, since the early 20th century, can not be described as nothing but a miracle. And I'm so happy to be part of that.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
I doubt very seriously if Christians can go along with that philosophy, you know, rise and kill. You got somebody that's going after you, you rise and kill him first. Certainly in a warfare situation, the targeting of the officers of an approaching army is certainly permissible because that's war. But to kill a peaceful man, I don't know how peaceful he is, but when you're not at war, to go after and target the leaders, it certainly seems effective. But I tell you, there was a great uproar when I suggested that Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, there might be some suggestion that we'd take him out. If we had done that, we'd have spared those Venezuelan people horrible, horrible torment that they've been going through these past decades because of that one man. And I think it's true that rather than bring an army to a war, which we all, everybody applauds and says, okay, that's okay, you can go to war, but you can't take out the leaders. Well, what about 2 or 3 people, an Adolf Hitler or somebody like that, who is promulgating this horrible doctrine of destruction, and millions of people will die, or one man will be taken out. I think this, from a scriptural point of view, maybe that's not as bad a thing as we would think. But in any event, I didn't write the book, he did, and so it says rise up, and he's got an old Talmudic source in Babylon to do that. But the Jews have been pretty good. The Israelis have been pretty good in defending themselves, and you can't blame them because all the nations of the earth, except maybe 1 or 2, are opposed to Israel. And it's just, we're seeing a rise of anti-Semitism, and these people have got to be strong. And I think it's true. They need to have strength. Terry?
Well, coming up, the Grammy-winning artist who wrote the anthem Chainbreaker.
Literally like 15, 20 minutes later, we had written that song.
Zach Williams shares the real-life story behind his hit song when we come back.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the 700 Club on this beginning of spring, snowy kind of weather in the east. But anyhow, we're going to get out of it sooner or later. It's going to be wonderful, and we're glad you're with us. Well, less than 2 years ago, a guy named Zach Williams released his first solo single. It was called Chainbreaker. It reached #1 on the Hot Christian Songs chart and made the top 10 on Christian radio. This year, his album of the same name won a Grammy. Chainbreaker is taken straight from a chapter in Zach's real life when he was under tremendous bondage. Watch this.
I'd been in Nashville for an entire week, written songs all week long, had a 4-hour drive, and all I could think about was getting home. And I sat down with Jonathan and Mia, Jonathan Smith and Mia Fields. And at the time, me and my wife were very involved in prison ministry at our church. And Chainbreaker was thrown out as a title. She was like, well, you should write a song called Chainbreaker. The first thing out of my mouth was, if you've been walking the same old road for miles and miles. And they were like, Mike, go back, what'd you say? Literally like 15, 20 minutes later, we had written that song.
Christian artist Zach Williams' CD Chainbreaker won a Grammy in 2018 for Best Contemporary Christian Music Album. But there was a time in Zach's life when he had chains of his own. Zach was raised in Jonesboro, Arkansas to Christian parents and was raised in church.
It was storybook childhood. I mean, I had a great family, from as early as I can remember. We were in church on Sundays and Wednesdays, and I knew all the stories in my head. I knew the scriptures and the teachings and things. Not sure that I really understood as far as like the heart part of it.
In high school, however, he began drinking and doing drugs.
It just kind of sucked me in, that lifestyle. There wasn't anything that happened in my past or in my childhood that would, have pushed me to using drugs or alcohol. It was more of a, just kind of the wrong crowd. I knew it was wrong, but, it was also, for me at that time, it was fun. I didn't think it was a big deal, but obviously as I got older, it began to be a much bigger deal in my life.
Zach was also a prep basketball star who hoped to go on to play college ball. But when an injury sidelined his career, He began to play guitar and his life goals changed.
I was like, I want to be a rock star now, so I can do all this and it's justified and I can just, continue to do this with my life. So for the next 10 years of my life, I literally carried a guitar with me everywhere I went.
He eventually formed his own band, ironically entitled Zach Williams and the Reformation.
We had some success. We toured Europe a couple times and did a tour with the USO and played some music for the troops over in Japan one summer. And for me, I felt like I'd made it.
Zach met and began dating Crystal. The two later married, but Zach refused to change.
For the first several years of our life, I was pretty bad, drinking a lot, still using drugs quite a bit. And I just remember telling my wife, you knew this when you met me, I'm not gonna change. That was always kind of my thing whenever she would come to me and say like, you need to grow up, we need to make some changes in our life. I knew she was telling the truth about everything, I did need to make some changes.
All the while, his parents continued to pray for him.
That's where their faith was tested, but I also saw them never quit praying, never give up. Even when I didn't want to hear them pray for me, they would come to my house and sit on my couch and pray for me and my wife and my family.
Eventually, Zach tired of the rock life and the toll it was taking on his marriage and family.
Living the lifestyle I was living, obviously I couldn't be a good dad. With all the success I'd had from the band that we were in and the places we'd played, I was just, I was a miserable just shell of a person. Going out and playing these shows wasn't making it any better. I was standing on stage every night, just kind of for the high that I got of being out there in front of the crowd. And then I was walking off stage every night, coming home miserable.
While driving through Spain with his band, Zach heard a song on the radio.
I heard Redeemed by Big Daddy Weave come across the radio while we were in Spain, and God just got my attention and basically said, I see you differently than you see yourself. And I've given you this gift, I've given you all these chances, and I want you to use this for me, and if you will, I'll give you things you've never dreamed of.
That night, Zach called Crystal.
I was like, when this tour's over, I'm done. Quitting my band, we're gonna cancel our shows. I remember walking in the door and just busting into tears and just asking for forgiveness for my wife and kids and just apologizing for the past and all the wrongs I'd done. I felt horrible. And it was like this moment with God where I just said, I can't do this anymore. I don't care if I ever play another song or I play guitar. If what I'm supposed to do with my life is work with my dad in this construction company and just be a good dad and a good father and go to church, that's what I want to do. And when I got done praying that prayer and asking God to just come live in my life, just be the Lord of my life, it was this, like I don't have to go and do what I've been doing anymore. And that's when, for me, things just started changing in my life.
Zach and Crystal both accepted Christ in 2012, and they began attending a local Baptist church in Jonesboro.
I stopped playing music for about 6 months, and then out of the blue one day I was walking around on a construction site with my dad, and I started hearing words to a song in my head, and I started writing them down, and before I knew it, I had written a Christian song.
Soon after, the leadership of the church asked Zach to be the worship pastor.
It just kind of blew me away because they were willing to take a chance on somebody that they really didn't know that much, but they had seen God working in mine and my family's life. But the first time I stood on stage and led worship, it was the very first time I ever remember feeling like I wasn't faking it. I just remember I had my eyes closed and I was just singing to the Lord.
Other doors began opening for Zach, including the chance to write with several noted Nashville songwriters. He began making the 4-hour trek regularly from Jonesboro. One evening, he got a call from a record label executive.
He said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, played your song for the record label today in a meeting, and they want to offer you a record deal." And I was just like, what? The prayer that I'd prayed 6 months before that, God heard my prayer.
Zach, Crystal, and their children recently moved to a home near Nashville. He is currently touring with his band and is excited to see the plans God has for him and his music.
Since I hit the ground and fell on my hands and knees that day in my bedroom in 2012, it's been one thing after another that God has just shown up and really done in my life and in my family's life. He's strengthened my marriage, my relationship between me and my wife. It's just been really neat, to see and to be a part of. It's been so humbling, and just to know that He hears your prayers and your cries, it's really cool.
You know, the Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? What can you give in exchange for it? And what does it profit if you get everything? Zach didn't have everything, but he had a lot going for him. But until he came to the Lord, he had lost everything. He had nothing. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And I'd say that to you. What does it profit you? Say you get rich. So what have you made? You got a lot of money in the bank. You've got some stocks and bonds. You got some insurance policies. You got some real estate. So, what does it profit you if you gave your soul in exchange for that? What does it profit you if you're a famous singer or actor, musician, whatever, and you've got the adoration of thousands of people? Or what if you're a politician and people are cheering for you when you get on stage and they're voting for you, and the next thing you know, you're in a high public office? What does it profit if you gain the whole world but you lost your own soul? So I want to ask you today, what are you willing to give to get your soul back? Well, Jesus Christ died that you might be redeemed, and he gave his life for you, and that was the price of getting you back. The Bible talks about being redeemed, and the word for redeemed in the Greek is agorizo, which means to go into the agora, to go into the marketplace and buy something back. And the Lord went into the marketplace to buy you back. And he paid the price so that you can be free. And all those tinsels and things that are around don't mean anything. Zach's got the word. Now, if you want to be free, really free, and you want to know that you've got your soul back, it's been given you by the Lord, I want you to receive what he's done, and I want you to pray with me right now. Don't be afraid. Just bow your head, pray these words. As I pray, you pray with me. Lord Jesus Christ. That's right. You say it and mean it. Lord Jesus Christ, I know you died to win me back, and I want my soul. I've given it up for tinsel and toys and things that don't have any eternal consequence. I want to be with you, and I receive your death for me. I take the payment that you have made to win back my soul, and I receive it, Lord. And I thank you that you died for me. And from this moment on, I am yours. And thank you that you are mine. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, thank you. Now, if you prayed with me just then, I want to do something for you. I want you to be established in the Lord. I want you to start. This is only the beginning, and there's a whole journey ahead of you that'll be wonderful and glorious. But how do you receive those blessings? Well, I have something here that we've had for a number of years, but it's so important. And in it is a compact disc. It's about 70-some minutes of concentrated teaching about what you've just done. And I want to give it to you free. So if you call in right now, we'll give this as no financial obligation whatsoever. Just say, look, I prayed with Pat just then. I've given the Lord, I've given him my life, and I'm thankful that I've got my soul back. I've been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. And I want you to call. The telephone number is on your screen. It's easy to remember. It's 707,000. It's easy to remember, 707,000. So if you're out of the area, you can dial 1, and then, on that 1-800, if you want to get on that, it's toll free wherever you are in the country or around the world. Call right now and say, I just prayed. I thank you that Jesus redeemed me from the curse of sin. And I'm free from this moment on. Here's Terry.
Coming up, the greatest coach of all time in any sport, UCLA's John Wooden. Best-selling author Pat Williams pays tribute to the icon in a new book about Coach Wooden's forgotten teams. That's later on today's 700 Club.
And welcome back to the 700 Club. A federal judge in Mississippi will hear arguments today over the state's new abortion ban. It's the toughest in the nation. The governor signed the bill into law just yesterday. It bans abortions after 15 weeks. Republican Governor Phil Bryant says Mississippi is saving more unborn babies than any other state in the nation. But Mississippi's only abortion clinic is suing to stop the law from going into effect. Well, today marks the first day of spring, but winter doesn't want to go away. Another nor'easter is expected to hit the northeast by Thursday. The storm could bring up to a foot of snow in some areas, along with strong winds and some coastal flooding. This would be the fourth nor'easter in less than 3 weeks. The storm could stretch from Ohio and West Virginia up to Massachusetts. And you can always get the latest from CBN News by visiting our website, cbnnews.com. Pat and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
Well, you can argue all day about who's the second greatest coach in the world, but John Wooden has the greatest coach moniker all sewn up, hands down. So says best-selling author Pat Williams, who's just released his fourth book on the iconic coach. Take a look.
As a player at Purdue in the early 1930s, John Wooden was a 3-year All-American and College Basketball Player of the Year. But he was an even better coach. From 1948 to 1975, Wooden was head coach of men's basketball at UCLA. His wins included 10 national championships in 12 years, 7 of those in a row. A record 88 straight wins, and in 4 seasons, his team had 30 victories without a single loss. That's why the Orlando Magic's senior VP, Pat Williams, compiled life lessons Wooden shared at his basketball camps in his new book, Coach Wooden's Forgotten Teams.
Welcome back to the 700 Club, our dear friend Pat Williams. It's great to see you here.
Thanks, Terry. So good to be here. And in the middle of March Madness, this Wooden book has come out.
Great timing, Pat.
Yeah, the timing is great.
Well, before we talk about him, I want to ask you, how's your health? How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I was diagnosed, 7.5 years ago with multiple myeloma, which is one of the blood cancers. But the doctors are telling me they don't see any signs of it. I've responded well to all the chemo. I feel good, and I'm able to keep my full schedule. So the Lord has been very, very good to me, Terry.
And your full schedule is a full schedule.
It is. There's no question.
This is your fourth book on Coach Wooden. What made you decide to write a fourth one?
Well, Terry, I wrote a book, or I wanted to write a book years ago called How to Be Like Coach. So I sent him a letter asking if he would give me permission. A few days later, the phone rang. Mr. Williams, this is John Wooden, the former basketball coach at UCLA. That's what he said.
He had to introduce himself.
He said, I am not worthy of a project like this. But if you would like to do it, he said, you go on ahead. Well, that opened the door. I was able to build a relationship with him. He had a nice little condo in Encino, California. I guess on 5 or 6 different occasions, we would pick him up about 5 o'clock, take him to dinner, come back to his condo, into his office, which is now, by the way, a museum piece on the UCLA campus. And we would talk. He loved poetry. He would read the latest poems that he had written or received. A lot of it. And talk about life. Yeah. So that led to this book, which is the fourth book. Wow. Because there was an area of his life, there was a big piece of his life, but it had never really been examined, namely his summer camps that he ran for many years, touching thousands of youngsters.
His second career, really. And he was just as successful in its own way in that career, or maybe even more in some ways, than he was in his coaching career.
Oh, I think you're right. Thousands of young men and women came through those camps. Many we've heard of. You know, they went on and have had successful careers like Steve Kerr, for example, Kiki Vandeweghe, who had a long NBA career. They were campers there. And he loved to teach. John Wooden never used the word coaching. It was always teaching.
Well, he also didn't talk a lot about winning, which is astonishing considering his records. I mean, you'd think that would be like the goal, but he really believed the character development made you a winner, and you didn't have to discuss winning if you were focused on the right thing.
And preparation.
Yeah.
He was a fanatic about preparation. And his practices were absolutely run like clockwork. Not a wasted second.
Yeah.
And he believed if he did his job during the week of teaching and instructing and getting his players ready, he didn't have to worry about the games. Now, having said that, Terry, I once asked him the key to his success at UCLA, and he said, talent, talent, talent.
Yeah.
And he said, I never wanted to go into a game with my opponent unless I had better players than he did.
Well, talent is important, but talent isn't enough, really. I mean, we've all seen talented people who have made some poor decisions in life. He was really about discipline, about little things, you know, minute things. Talk about that.
And Terry, I over dinner one night, I was sitting next to him and I leaned over and I said, Coach, you've been around a long time. Could you point out one secret of success, perhaps? And he thought for a minute and he said, the closest I could come to a secret of success would be a lot of little things done well.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, ooh, that could be a book someday. And so a few years ago, we wrote that book, Coach Wooden's Greatest Secret. And it was about a lot of little things done well. So he was a stickler for the little things.
Well, on the cover of this book, you have not just the basketball, but a picture of a shoe propped up against the wall. That was one of the little things.
Well, he told his players after practice, their feet would be wet and so forth, but he said, I want you to tilt your shoes up against the wall of your locker at an angle. And he said, that way they will dry and air out more efficiently than if you just have them flat. And so we thought, that was kind of a subtle little.
There are some players that he coached that still, over the years, prop their shoes up against the wall.
Well, we found some of them who said they still do that. He also was a stickler about teaching his players how to put their socks on properly without any wrinkles, which would create a blister perhaps, and how to lace their shoes properly and how to double knot them. I saw a player this weekend, you know, whose shoe came off in the middle of action and he had to slow down and get it back on. And I thought, Coach wouldn't like that. And he insisted on double knots so that the shoe would stay on and not in the heat of battle wouldn't come flying off and slow everything down. So he had a good eye for all the little details of life that really matter in the long run.
You know, he sure did. And I think what's really commendable is that he's had made such an impression on people, yourself included, that though he's not here with us anymore, his legacy lives on in these irreplaceable, irrefutable lessons of what's important in life.
Well, Terry, people have asked why I have done these Coach Wooden books, and I think you just hit it. You know, his lessons are so valuable, and we don't want them to end. And so I have written these books to perpetuate the character and the leadership and the unique details of Coach Wooden's life. Strong Christian.
Very.
You know, his faith was very real to him. And maybe the highest praise and maybe the best little detail in this book, somebody said to me, and we put it in the book, Coach Wooden wasn't good to people. He was great to people. That's what they said.
Yes, people
So there's a good lesson.
Well,
today, folks, don't just be good to people, be great to people.
The legacy,
that's a Wooden lesson.
The legacy of a life well lived. And this is book number 4, Coach Wooden's Forgotten Teams. March Madness is well underway, so it's the perfect time to pick up a copy of Pat Williams' book. You want to get a hold of it. It's available wherever books are sold. Rich, with wise counsel. You can also hear more about John's life in his social exclusive interview on our Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/700club. It's great to see you, Pat.
Terry, I'm happy to see you always.
Amen. Well, still ahead, we've got your email. Richard wants to know, where did the quote, "till death do us part," come from? Well, stay tuned. Pat's going to answer that and other questions, and it's all coming up.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the 700 Club, and we're delighted you're with us. I want to tell you about a story about Nepal. In one remote village in Nepal, a trip to fetch water once came with the risk of being attacked by tigers. That's no longer the case. Now the people there have clean water pumped right to their homes, thanks to what you and viewers like you have done.
In the foothills of the Himalayas in northern Nepal, every family in one small village donated their own money to dig a well and build a cistern for clean water. They were saving themselves from a lifetime of struggle.
To get drinking water, we hike through the mountains to the place where spring water collects on the hillside. We use torches because the tigers and leopards are afraid of the fire.
Mina told me she fetched water so her daughter-in-law Babita could take care of the children and animals. They thought the new well would help, but it didn't.
We couldn't raise enough money to pipe the water to our houses.
When we heard about how hard the entire community worked to get the well, CBN paid for all the pipes needed to get water directly to more than 200 families scattered across the hillside. That's nearly 1,000 people whose lives will be changed because they have access to clean water.
Now I don't have to get up at 3 in the morning and spend half the day getting water. I can spend more time taking care of our family and earning money working in the fields.
More water for the animals means more milk for our family. Our children are healthy and the animals are healthy.
You saw our troubles and gave us water. Thank you, CBN, very, very much.
Isn't that wonderful? You know, your whole village changed. You take it for granted you get water, but most of these little villages, they don't have any central water supply. They don't have the pipes. But we can bring water to them, and how do you do it? We all work together. And it takes 65 cents a day. We're not talking about big money. We're talking about a relatively small amount to change. 65 cents. Matter of fact, the government is saying it's too expensive to make nickels and dimes and pennies and things like that. They're going to stop, with 65 cents. It's all it takes to get a 700 Club membership. So why don't you call the number on your screen and say, look, I want to help those people that are suffering and don't have enough water, don't have enough food, don't have enough medicine. I want to bring joy to their hearts, and here's the way I'm going to do it. So, Terry, you've got something.
Well, one of the things when you join the 700 Club, we want to send you is Pat's latest teaching on prayer. It's called Answered Prayer, and this is Brenda from Detroit, Michigan. She said, Answered Prayer is a great DVD, really inspiring and uplifting. Hearing others witness how God answered their prayers brings hope and faith in the Lord. My family, their whole family, learned so much. They loved it. So join now. We'll send it out to you right away.
Brings your faith and lifts you closer to the Lord. All right, let's have some questions.
Okay, this is Richard, who says, my wife and I had a loving marriage for almost 30 years. She passed away in 2016. My question is, where did the quote, till death do us part, come from? We didn't divorce or separate. As far as I'm concerned, she's still my wife. Am I wrong to think or feel this way?
No, she's your wife. She's your wife in a sense forever, but your marriage on earth lists until death do us part. And at the end of death, your marriage you're free to remarry, according to the Bible. You're not bound, your brother or sister is not bound if the spouse dies. That's just, death parts your marriage. Does that mean that you can't carry her in your heart? Of course not. All right.
Okay, this is Miriam, who says, I'm a full-time stepmother to our 13-year-old who lives with us. My husband works long hours, and my stepdaughter's biological mother goes in and out of drug abuse. She once told me that my husband is her best friend. She recently started video chatting with my husband, which she doesn't do with me or my stepdaughter. I'm uncomfortable. How do you recommend I address this? I feel a disconnect with my husband.
Look, I don't know what your marriage situation is, but he and his wife were married first. And I don't know how come they're divorced, and I don't know what establishment, but the fact that she still has feelings for her first husband, it's not a bad thing. You know, you got to live with it. You came in second, and I don't know what legal rights you've got. But I don't know what else to say on a thing like that. You're a stepmother, you're a second wife, first wife, birth mother of the child and so forth, you know, and you hope she gets free from the drug addiction. And I guess, I don't know beyond that, what relationship she would have with her husband. Well, today's Power Minute is from Psalm 66. We went through fire and water, but you brought us to a place of abundance. Well, tomorrow, the celebrity pastor who married Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, Rich Wilkerson Jr. Well, he's the pastor of the sinners, I think is the title of the book. We'll hear what he's got to say, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So for Terry and all of us, this is Pat Robertson. Thank you so much for being with us. God bless you.